Alrighty, we are back. This will be part two. I'll try to see if I can get it all out at once. Um, Otherwise, I'll probably try to make it to the halfway point and then do it all in a part three. But if I go through this and I do all the good information, then I should be able to get all this out in just part two. Okay, so Druid. When the game was young, I originally had Druid in S tier. I had it as like one of the solitary S tiers. Believe it or not, and I wasn't as good at the game. I actually had Acolyte somewhere in the A tier. But Druid, I now consider it kind of an A tier instead of an S tier. There was a point where, like, I started realizing that Druid just isn't for everyone, and it also is probably one of the hardest sufferers of no build missions. But let's get into the strengths and the reason why I used to think it was S tier. Druid, yeah, right here, 5. Druid, generally, it summons a bunch of Zerg. They run around and they kill everything. It's a lot like Bard like that, except you can influence Bard. You can't really even influence the Zerg. The Druid Zerg, they go around, they kind of ignore everything, and if you take the curse, they'll try to kill you. And that reminds me, yeah, over on Bard, I forgot to cover this in the last video, but their things, what Bard thing? It was not limited budget, not moment of silence. The thing for bards, yeah, retirement fund. I didn't cover this in the last video. I forgot to mention it, but Bard actually has an extremely bad plague. Every 60 seconds, they steal 100 minerals and Vespine from you, and it doesn't do anything. And you can take it 3 times, which means that you can actually flush 6 curses down the toilet. And that sounds good, but this is an absurd amount of resources to lose, especially near the beginning of the game. Which means if you're playing on submissions with just like one Vespine Geyser, this will make it so that you essentially, along with economic tension, they'll take just all your gas. You will not be building anything. Like, they're very expensive if you take this, and I recommend to not do that until until you start going into the missions with like 2 or 3 Vespine Geysers, and then like also expansions. A lot of missions don't have 2 to 3. A lot of missions don't have expansions. Anyway, but back to Druid. For Druids, they're number 5, right? Yeah. Druid's curse is to slay the beast. This is a very annoying one. I don't usually take it because it's super awkward, and if they pop in at bad times and you don't have detection, then they'll just kill your Cerberus hatcheries. And like Zerg are not toys. This one's also very bad, and I didn't know how it functioned for a very long time before Red Frog outright like stated how this is coded. Like once the Zerg leave a radius of I want to say like 20 from your nearest building, then they will start just killing your units, and they don't count as hostile, so you won't like trigger defensive abilities. Your things won't try to defend themselves. They'll just get killed. They'll get team killed. It's very bad. It's probably one of the worst, and you just don't want to get it. But enough of the downsides. The upsides are extremely strong. Starting as early as mission 1, where you just get a bunch of roaches and they auto micro. The micro is perfect. Like if they detect that they are about to die, they will burrow, they will move, they will go into advantageous positions. The only downside is they tend to get stuck in choke points, like real Zerg do. But other than that, they're just amazing. You also get things like evolution, delta, epsilon, gamma, and then like where's the evolution complete? Yeah, and then like you get basically every talent from every Heart of the Swarm unit at the same time. You know how like most units have a choice between like Zerglings can get attack speed or movement speed or health. You get all 3 of them, and you can turn them into like Hunterlings and Splitterlings, and it's ridiculous. Once this class is even a little bit online, it just kills everything. I'm actually not a huge fan of their epic. It works for like if you have starting minerals and starting gas, you can summon exactly 1 Brutalisk on like the Tosh mission on New Folsom. But that 1 Zerg is not really going to survive. Like not really. Not on the higher difficulties. It'll get killed, and then you're left with a hero that you have not buffed because it's not Zerg. And that's the entire reason why I don't consider it to be S tier anymore is simply because of how hard it suffers on no build missions. Almost every streamer you may have watched has suffered immensely from playing Druid, and they always stumble on new Folsom. And I think Red Frog is aware of that, but they don't really care because like every class needs to have a weakness, right? And that's what this class's weakness is. If you don't have Tosh's starting command center and you are unable to build and having like a good economy buffer for the druid, then you will suffer on no build missions completely, and it's like you don't even have a class, and now you're fighting enemies that have been buffed to high hell, especially on the two higher difficulties like chaos and question mark. Um, that said, if you're not trying to play every single mission in the game, then there's actually only one no build mission you ever have to play, and that's at the very beginning. Otherwise, you can ignore all of the no build missions and speed run straight to Char, straight to All In, shatter the skies, and then just win the game on the highest difficulty. I did that. I think that if anyone else were to seriously run this game in a speedrun fashion, like you'll notice on my channel, I actually did a speedrun, and any percent it was with Druid. Granted, that was Druid like 4 patches ago. They haven't really touched it since then. It's still amazing. In fact, I would think Druid is actually even a little better now because they added more generic curses and they balanced out a couple of glitches. But no, it's one of the fastest, if not the single fastest class in the game. It's strong, it's fast, it's fun, it's good. It suffers in a couple of places, but if you can prepare for them accordingly and you can just get through those small slogs, you have one of the easiest and most hilarious classes to ever play. It used to be my favorite. It still kind of is my favorite. I think Bard is my favorite now. But yeah, I still have very strong feelings for the Druid. I still think it's very good. And now Engineer. Now, part of me wants to put it in B, and another part of me wants to skip A and go straight to S. And I'm tempted to like make a tier of its own under S and just call it Engineer. In fact, I literally might add a row above, and I'm going to call it Engineer. All right. Engineer. In fact, I should probably make it blue because, Engineer is blue. Okay, so it's not S, it's not A, it's not B, it's Engineer. All right, let me explain. Where is Engineer? Yeah, okay, so they get construction efficiency. This is actually a deceptively good early game ability. It makes a lot of things cheap, so even early on when you don't have any of your engineering things unlocked, then you just have cheaper everything. You have cheaper supply depots, cheaper command centers, cheaper barracks, and you can actually, like, on the second mission, the Outlaws, you can just crap out a whole bunch of Marines, like, faster than any of the other generic classes. Yes, your Marines aren't going to be very strong because this is a construction class. It's just, Engineer has one of the highest and most noticeable power spikes out of all of the classes. Near the end of the game, then they start getting this thing called, I think it's a blue. The Earth Splitter Artillery. Like, until you get this, your class is a little awkward. It's very awkward. It's slow. It's decent at defense. But even on, like, some of the starting missions, like Smash and Grab, or Agria, or Redstone, Engineer flops around in a super awkward way. It is one of the worst early game classes, and on no build missions, it also suffers. It suffers from a lot of the same problems as Druid, except, like, you don't even have a lot of other units to play for you. Engineer is very awkward early on, but once you get Earth Splitter Artillery, then once you have a little bit of sight, you have some units you can bait, you can launch these gigantic just death bombs to just kill everything. Not to mention another thing I wanted to mention is the compact turret. It's common, but this is like your bread and butter. It's better than like a lot of other defensive options. Like a single compact turret is stronger than a fully loaded bunker in almost every way, and you can just spam the shit out of these. Like for pure defense missions, like these things are ridiculous. But like for missions that actually require you to do things, like let's say the Great Train Robbery, or like Welcome to the Jungle, if you want to like actually get the bonus there, you're going to need Earth Splitter artillery, and it's kind of hard to find it because their other blue, Engineering Marvel, is terrible. This does not do anything. You might think to use it to like block off, but you don't need to do that because later on, like you have static offense, which is 10% health, 20% damage, and like yeah, this thing is basically invincible, but who cares? Like I don't know. And the plague, this is an annoying plague. It's not terrible. It's very bad, but it's not terrible. Like you can if you just keep your things fully healed, this literally doesn't do anything. And this one literally doesn't do anything. So that's basically just a free curse. Draken Laser Drill, they're epic. It's very good, especially on a couple of missions like Shatter the Skies. This will kill every Leviathan that ever spawns for free. Or if you're doing the Zeratul missions, this will just kill Mar immediately. It can defend your base immediately. I don't think it can target the flying overseers, but it can target literally anything else. Draken Laser Drill, very strong. It also has like a super niche use on the dig map because you can also use it to mine the buildings. Like you can actually get the Protoss artifacts before you gain control of the other laser drill. It's really funny, but it's ridiculously expensive. It is super fucking expensive. Like I can't even explain how expensive the Draken Laser Drill is. You sometimes can't even get it up until like the 10th minute after you're done setting up your other defenses, which is why like it sounds like I'm just being negative about the engineer. Let me get to like the other point real quick. Um, Along with their static offense infinitability, engineers have, along with not just the static offense, but also the high sec auto tracking. This right here, like almost single handedly makes this class ridiculous because this is the only thing that can increase the range of the rip field generators. With this, while other classes would sometimes need 2 or sometimes even 3 rip fields to cover your base during the ultimate challenge, Engineer just needs 1. It needs 1, it covers your entire base, and it kills literally everything, and you're making it stronger, you're making it bigger, they make it cheaper, and they make it faster. So you just rip this thing out immediately, and every Zerg thing not called Ultralisk dies before they even reach your base, no matter what difficulty you're playing on. So you're basically just left dealing with the Protoss. High-sec auto-tracking also affects a couple of other things that you wouldn't expect it to. Like, for instance, even though Earth Splitter artillery doesn't have an attack, per se, that it also gets a bigger range. And if you get Stetman's base, you also get access to the Psi Disruptor. And if you get the Psi Disruptor and you give it the Kala connection, then this thing can affect the only surviving enemies that could ever reach you, the Protoss, at a range higher than a Colossus. So the only units that are even able to still attack your base are now being nerfed by 50%. They're moving 50% slower, attacking 50% slower, and if you get like certain other talents, they're also taking like double damage. So this class has such a conspicuous power spike that at its apex actually could probably make it the strongest class in the game if you lean into rip fields and you lean into like just everything that rip fields can't deal with. Rip fields can kill everything, and then like the Draken laser drill and the Earth Splitter artilleries and everything else can kill everything else. Early on, you're going to suffer, you're going to flounder, it's going to be super awkward. But later on, it becomes probably the strongest class in the entire game. And as such, I have a hard time putting it anywhere, so I'm just not going to put it anywhere. I'm going to put it in its own little tier called Engineer. All right, how long has this been going on? About 14 minutes. I think I can do, let me be like, no, I'm going to see how far I can take this. This is Gambler. Gambler is going to be our first D tier. All right, Gambler, Gambler, Gambler. Okay, so Gambler's entire shtick is you cannot build specific units anymore. When you build a unit, it'll roll a dice between like 0 and 2, or between like 1 and 3. And basically, if it rolls a 1, it'll downgrade your unit. If it rolls a 2, it'll keep your unit the same. And if it rolls a 3, it'll upgrade your unit. And then of that roll it rolls, it's going to just completely draw from a completely random pool of monsters of that tier. For instance, like a Marine can become like a big, like an Ursidon or It can become like a Marauder if you get lucky, or it could become a single Zergling if you get unlucky, or it could become like a Caribou. It's a whatever class. Its passive used to be much worse. Law of big numbers used to just be trained in less time. Now it's trained in less time and costs less resources. But you'll notice a lot of these things like give damage. Like look at this. This gives damage. Um, this gives effective everything. This gives time scale, which is translated to damage. This gives damage. This gives damage. This gives damage and health. This gives damage. This is basically damage. This does not give damage. Gambler does not have a direct damage increase. It has a couple of pretty good talents. Like bonus round just gives you a double unit. Ace in the hole can give you 50% attack speed and health, but not damage for some reason. And this gives you additional damage if you summon something that is not a Protoss, and it's not a Zerg, and it's not a Terran. So if you summon like a Karak, or like later in the game, this is actually really good because it can be used for Ashworms. Ashworms single-handedly make this like usable, but just because it's usable doesn't mean it isn't probably the worst class in the game, even after it's gotten a couple of buffs. It has one of the easiest curses, Villain of the Blizzard, which is a pun on Hero of the Storm. Doesn't do anything. You're occasionally going to fight a mini boss with like 300 health. You can just kill it. A lot of the time, you're not even going to notice that it's there. So you'll just kill it for free. And their regular curse, Unlucky Dice, is pretty bad. I'm not sure exactly how the how they do with the lucky dice and the unlucky dice. Like, for instance, like this is green. Lucky dice, it's the exact same thing. I think it's, you know how I mentioned that dice roll between 1 and 3? This basically changes it to 1 and 4, and both 1 and 2 are considered downgrades. And this is the opposite. Like this goes to 1 and 4, but then both 3 and 4 are considered upgrades. So this is like a 50% chance of upgrading. This is a 50% chance of downgrading, with a 25% chance of downgrading and a 25% chance of upgrading. I don't know. Like the entire point of this class is to try to get super duper lucky. And like it's funny, I guess, but like nothing here actually increases your damage. It's like I'm not really sure what to say. Like almost nothing here increases damage. If not literally nothing here increases your damage. It might be the only class aside from Vengeance of the Critters that doesn't actually have a damage increasing talent anywhere in the class. It is a very weak class. It is pretty tough, and you can get a lot of units out, and you can do it cheap, and you can do it fast. But the things you have are so weak. And I'm only comparing this, like this entire tier list, everything here. Like, this is not me saying that Gambler and Champion can't beat the game. That this does not make Legacy or like Wings of Liberty easier. Now, all of these classes, every single one of them, even the ones that I consider in D tier, are way better than your base kit in Wings of Liberty. It's just, if you're doing the hardest possible challenge, and what I consider that to be is not just all in Omega, it is all in Omega on question mark difficulty when you do every single mission and take every single challenge, except maybe Belly of the Beast for some reasons. In which case, that's why Champion kind of falters a little bit. They get hit by hero mines a lot, and they kind of falter on the final challenge, like a lot. And this one, like they falter on the final challenge because the sheer amount of enemies you're fighting is absurd. I actually managed to beat all in Omega with every curse on this. It took like 15 attempts, and I was not having a good time, but I did it. It involved me getting absurdly lucky, getting a bunch of ash worms, and then I ran a really long defense, and I don't know. It's early on. It was the very first class I ever played that made me fail the third mission, the 0 hour mission. The defense mission. Since it's really bad at defense early on, and the mission is timed, and it's deceptively hard even nowadays with like how hard some of these pushes are, and it's just you don't have the tools required. And for the third mission in the game, 0 hour, I would say that this is the only class in the entire game on that one mission for that one instance that you actually are weaker than baseline Wings of Liberty Raynor. So it is an absurd. It is a silly class. It's kind of fun, but in my opinion, I believe it is the weakest class in the game. There's nothing in its kit that tries to even sort of increase its damage. Like you just try to get. It's like, hey, look at me. I did a run and I got like 15 Tal'Darim motherships. I'm like, that's cool. What difficulty are you playing on? Unburdened? Yeah, okay. You can't do that in all in. You just can't. Not on your first playthrough. Not without New Game Plus. It's a pretty bad class. I don't really like it. A lot of, like, it's fun, and you'll see like when people are saying like, "Hey, what's your favorite class?" Like, even though a lot of people agree that Gambler is bad, a lot of people also agree that Gambler is fun. It is a fun class. It is just kind of bad. All right, and then we have Hunter. I am very conflicted about Hunter. I used to think it was like almost as bad as Gambler, and then I moved it up to C. And when I've been playing with it more, I actually kind of want to move it up again. I'm not going to. A lot of people consider Hunter to be either the worst or the second worst in the game, and I don't disagree with their assertion. But Hunter, I don't know, it grew on me. It used to be in D. I'm gonna put it in C. I think like I could maybe on a perfect day with a perfect spec move it to B, but it's a. I'll explain. Hunter. Let's see here. Yeah, right here. It's one of the starting classes. There's no requirement. You can boot up you can download the mod right now and you can play Hunter. Their entire thing is mercenaries. So at the beginning of the game, they have probably the easiest and fastest liberation day because instead of starting with 5 Marines, you start with 5 War Pigs, and they're all about as strong as Raynor. You could just A move to the point and then like Alt Tab and watch TV if you want. They're very strong at the beginning. And Hunter is very strong at the beginning. You have access to the mercenary compound on mission 2 and mission 3 and the first parts of missions 4 and other 4. Agria and Smash and Grab. You have access to these mercenaries, and they're stronger, and they have more health, and you can summon them more often. So it's actually really good early on. And there's a couple of pretty good bonuses here. Like they get 50% attack and movement speed, and if you are doing War Pigs, then you can also get Stim Packs, and that stacks with this. So you can summon War Pigs from the start of the game, or get the free sample where it summons War Pigs for you at the start of the game, and then you can Stim Pack, and then you can just go and kill an objective. Like on Welcome to the Jungle, it is not impossible to spawn in, wait for your War Pigs to land, stim them, and then walk them straight into the expansion and kill everything in there because they are attacking about 125% faster, and they have a crap ton of health and a crap ton of damage, especially if you've got even 1 or 2 Dead Man's Hardwares. Dead Man's Hardware is an extremely powerful scaling thing. The only problem is this does not count towards the base stats. This counts towards the bonus stat. Like when you try to make the strongest units possible, that's when it gets important. But generally speaking, yes, the 15% health is true, but the 15% damage is conditional. So like if you get like more gun for 8% damage, like you're not actually going to like get 15% plus the additional 8% afterwards. It's going to like combine. It's hard to explain. But anyway, it's a very strong early game class, and it also suffers a little bit on no build missions. This is mostly worthless. Like the starting cooldown on mercenaries, like for what you want to use it for, even as late as like the Orlin Mirahan mission, the 3 War Pigs are usually going to be enough for you to like get all of the starting objectives. This is not super required, but it's whatever. This one's actually pretty good, especially early on, because this basically makes Marines like 40% better, making them 20% stronger, take 20% less damage. And if you're going to go Marines at all, then you also get like the Hunker Down for 30%, and that stacks with this. So now like your Marines are twice as tanky against like a Psystorm. Now a Psystorm that would normally kill you on Smash and Grab would actually not even kill the Marine anymore. And this one, like, it allows you to reset. This is good for like pushes, and that's okay, I guess. It's whatever. Their plague is actually very fair. As long as you're playing perfectly, which you definitely want to, by the way, this is never activates. You can actually ignore it, and it doesn't do anything. This one is actually, in my opinion, worse than Hazard Pay, because early on in the game, where this matters the most, it's pretty devastating. like for war pigs, this effectively doubles the price of the war pigs. Later on, it's not so bad, but it's whatever. Now, this one right here, they're blue, supply and demand. It's whatever. You're actually not really ever going to feel this. Like there are some people that I want to summon like 3 or 4 times, like 999. That's a weird number. And mercenaries have their cooldown reduced by 30%. That stacks with the premium contract. That's the base thing from Hunter. So that's like 25% plus 30%. It actually like makes it so you can summon about double the amount of mercenaries. It's hard to say. It's a little bit under double because it's multiplicative. So it's the 20% and then like 30% off of the remaining 80%. So it gets to like 55%. It's whatever. This right here is basically the entire class. Their epic is extremely powerful, and their epic is almost the entire reason that Hunter works. Because if you had to rely on just summoning mercenaries, then this class would be completely unusable, especially for the final challenge. But here, if you're building tanks, if you're building battle cruisers, if you're building Hellions, and I'll get into Hellions in a bit, then you just have a 40% chance of getting this extremely buffed monster. Only downside is it doesn't benefit from Kickstart. It would be cool if it did, but it doesn't, and it won't. But it's whatever. Mercenary Internship makes the class. Without Mercenary Internship, you are playing probably the worst class in the game. If that epic was any worse, it would be DE easy. But here I'm gonna move it up to C. And yeah. So when it comes to playing with the Hunter, there's basically only like 3 builds that you can do. You can go mass infantry, and you can try to do like war pigs and hammer securities, and even devil dogs are pretty good with Hunter. And you have a couple of custom mercenaries like Skibby's Angels, which are big and extremely tanky, extremely good medics, and they also benefit from a lot of these things. They're not like as good as they could be, but as long as they have access to the medic legendary that allows them to turn some things invincible, then they are very, very usable. And hammer securities, them just being marauders is pretty fucking good. There's also another thing. Where is it? Yeah, team effort. It doesn't apply to Jackson's Revenge. It would be hilarious if it did, but it doesn't. So this like hammer securities and devil dogs would normally come down with 2. This makes them come down with 3. Like I think that doesn't affect the price, or the 4 extra cost. It does affect the price. So like you summon 3 hammer securities instead of 2, and the hammer securities are just extremely strong. And if you taunt into them, they're also ignoring armor, and they're doing AOE, and they're much stronger from Dead Man's hardware. And you can just build more hammer securities from like the mercenary internship. And then the other build you can do is full defense. You can go hard on like the siege breakers because they're actually way stronger in this mod than they are in the base game, at least comparatively speaking. Because in this base game, like the siege tanks you're working with are actually weaker than Wings of Liberty siege tanks. But the siege breakers have not been changed. So the siege breakers are still absurd. Their base damage is like 140 if you get the super tank shells. And with a mixture of the premium contract and Dead Man's hardware, they're even stronger. It is not unlikely to have like tanks with 600 damage that can quite literally one-shot an Ultralisk. That's just something they do. So you can go full defense with that, and then you can handle the air with War Pigs and Spartan companies. And then the last build, it's kind of a meme. I haven't tried it yet, but theoretically it is possible, and it's kind of hilarious, is to go full Hellion. Because Hellions have a custom mercenary. And once you unlock them, Mercenary Internship makes it so that you have a 40% chance of summoning them. And if you get lucky near the end of the game, every time you lose a Hellion, all of your Hellions permanently gain 3% health and damage, up to 300%. So if you lose 100 Hellions, then your Hellions are now 3 times tankier and 3 times stronger. And if you roll it into a military, into its like altered form, then like you have a mercenary that is this much stronger times how many times you have that, plus 300%, to a point where these Hellions are capable of actually just throwing down and burning like everything to death for free. All right, they're super cheap, they're super spammable, and they're super strong, and it's hilarious. That said, Hunter is still a very underwhelming class compared to a lot of other classes, and because of that, I can't justify giving it anything other than a C. Um, it's pretty weak. And now we have Monk. Monk is a pretty deceptively strong class, despite it seemingly having the same problems as the other class I mentioned before, as like Gambler, how it has like no direct damage increases. Like nothing here will say like percentage based damage. You're gonna see attack speed, you're gonna see movement speed, you're gonna see like time, you're gonna see dodge. You're not really gonna see damage. Um, but that's very deceptive because celerity is one of the strongest stackable talents in the entire game. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Monk wants you to use this thing called wind step maneuver. It makes you 50% faster and 25% like more attack speed for 15 seconds on a minute cooldown. It lets you do some pretty decent timing pushes. You can walk into like entrenched positions. And there's a lot of things that make wind step maneuver better. Like you can get up to 100% attack speed, you can get it with 25% dodge, and it stacks with every other modifier. Like, for instance, like secret technique is 40% movement speed and attack speed and operating speed. And you can stack that with celerity, and you can stack that with wind step. So at the very beginning of the game, if you have a decent starting force and you know what you're doing, which you can also do with first things first, so that for the first 60 seconds, everything works like 2.5 times faster. So you can just completely saturate your minerals. You can build a starting force, and then like once first things first is over, there's another thing. What is it? It is 60-second strike. They're epic. It's okay. It's pretty good for what it wants to do, and early in the game, this is ridiculous. And it also makes it the only class in the whole game that can give you like a whole minute of breathing room on all in. No other class can do that. Um, it's very good. It makes everything attack slower, move slower, do very little damage. And no matter how fast that they're supposed to go, you will always go faster. You can just go and accomplish a whole bunch of things. At the very beginning of All In, you can just pop your wind step during 60-second strike, and you can just collect the artifacts. You can collect all of them. You can kill 2 of the 4 floating evil overseers, and now suddenly you are in complete control of the mission because you have also given yourself enough time to build rip field generators. You've given yourself enough time to build units and do all that other stuff. It's also one of those, I consider this a jack of all trades class because it doesn't have like a desired play type. So you can do this with almost any unit. You can play ground, you can play air, and this is one of the best abusers of predators. Like a lot of classes want to use predators, like especially Acolyte. It's hilarious with Predator. The other classes, like here that I mentioned so far, can't really do Predator like that. This is the first class that really wants to exploit Predators because the Predators are very strong in this game. In this hack, at least, Predators are actually a meme in Wings of Liberty. But moving on, like everything in Monk is based around like the first 120 seconds of the game to set up and build up whatever force you need to do. And then once you are ready to win the mission, you will pop all of your cooldowns. You will use wind step maneuver. You will use secret technique. And then you will go and you will just smash whatever objective is in front of you, and you will do it extremely fast. They will move so fast across the map, and not only are they just attacking fast, since they're operating 40% faster, that means that they're reacting 40% faster. Like they're not just gonna like attack really, really fast and then like look for another target kind of slowly, kind of like an immortal or something. No, like behind the scenes, this just makes the game go 40% faster for you, and the enemy has no choice but to sit back and let you do it. And it lasts 20 seconds, very long time. Like on the dig, you can use the secret technique to just completely pop the Tal'Darim base, like very quickly into the game. You can't really exploit 60-second strike on that mission because like you have that beginning no build section. But sorry, 60-second strike, while it's kind of weird for a lot of missions, is actually extremely good on all in because if you know how to utilize it, then you can actually put yourself in an extremely advantageous position on a mission where everyone's main complaint is that that mission does not give you the time to prepare yourself. For their curses, time for preparation is over. It can mostly be ignored completely because after 10 minutes, the game should already be over. You shouldn't be like in a mission for 10 minutes. And burnout is every 6 minutes you gain 10% damage taken, which means for most of the time this is 0. For most of the other time this is 10%. Which, don't get me wrong, 10% damage taken is kind of bad, but you're almost never going to see this above 20%. And if you're playing Monk, you're not going to be doing the defensive version of All In. So you should never experience the negatives of this. So it's actually kind of a free plague. That said, outside of celerity, there's no like really high stacking damage for Monk. It's a class of convenience. This is a jack of all trades class that rewards you for knowing what you want to play, kind of like Acolyte, but Acolyte improves the base damage. This just gives you like 2 cooldowns, 3 if you count the epic, for just completely busting certain missions wide open as soon as the game starts. It's deceptively good, and I personally like it. I actually considered it very good for a while. A lot of people wanted to move it like very low. I don't think I've seen anyone say it should go in D, but I've definitely seen people like put it down here. I would put it up here. There was a time I had it in A, but I think that my run was a little trivialized because I had also had Acolyte in it. But like even when it's by itself, it's not bad, and celerity is extremely strong. I don't think a lot of people recognize how strong it is. Like it's 10% everything. It's not just attack and movement speed. It's also operating speed. So like that means that they're regenerating energy 10% faster. Their cooldowns are coming off 10% faster. They're building units 10% faster. They're training 10% faster. They're researching 10% faster. It's doing everything 10% faster. And you can stack this like 20. Like if you're pretty lucky, you can get to like 15 by the time you reach all in. And that's 150% to everything. And you don't lose it. Like, not really. Once it's that high, it's going to feel like it's at max forever. Even if the mission takes like 10 minutes, you're still going to have it at like 70%. It's ridiculous how good celerity is, but it's only ridiculous once you have a lot of it. A lot of these things actually have diminishing returns after a while. Celerity is the opposite. Celerity gets stronger the more you get it. So, like, celerity is extremely strong. It almost makes the class, like, it doesn't increase your damage on paper, but it does increase your damage. It increases everything. It increases your minerals, your research, your construction, and yeah, it kind of increases your damage. It's a good passive on an all-around decent class. I like it. It's fun. I'm putting it in B. And my lord, this video is getting pretty long. I'm going to call it here and do a part 3 later.